Today on Knobi Cooks I present to you roasted cauliflower with homemade pesto. Not only will you see how to prepare a delicious vegetarian dish, you will also learn how to prepare your own pesto from very few ingredients. And as it always is with cooking, the homemade stuff simply tastes better. If you enjoy my content, please consider leaving a like and subscribing to my channel. For today's recipe, you will need fresh or frozen cauliflower, a hand blender, some Parmesan, some dried tomatoes, a lemon, some garlic cloves, capers, a glass of olives, some olive oil, couple of herbs and spices, some pine nuts, a pot for boiling noodles and some fusilli, and of course a baking tray. And as a first step, we can already set up the noodle water for boiling. We will start by preparing our roasted cauliflower. For this, take each individual sprout and cut it into smaller pieces. Halving the sprouts should be sufficient most of the time, though if you have larger ones, you should quarter them. And after cutting your cauliflower, simply put all of the pieces back into a large bowl. As I mentioned in the beginning, you can use fresh cauliflower or frozen cauliflower. It's up to you. If you want to use frozen cauliflower, make sure to thaw it in time. I think handling the frozen cauliflower is way easier, because when cutting the fresh cauliflower, many bits and pieces will fall out of it, which can leave you with a very messy countertop. Once all of our cauliflower is cut and ready for seasoning, we will add salt and ground black pepper and a good swig of olive oil. Afterwards, make sure everything's mixed well. And that's basically already the whole trick for preparing roasted cauliflower. It's that easy. And as a side note, you can prepare many vegetables in this way. I'm planning to record a video in the future in which I want to show you how to prepare oven vegetables of any kind. What's really cool about this method is that you can prepare large quantities of vegetables basically without any real effort. Yes, depending on which kind of vegetables you choose to prepare, there might be some more cutting work involved. However, afterwards you simply season and oil it and then put it into your oven. Cooking has never been easier. Speaking of the oven, take your cauliflower and put it onto your baking tray. Once you have everything in your baking tray, try to spread it as equally as you can. The better the cauliflower is spaced apart, the better it will roast later on. And if you think your baking tray is too cramped, then spread your cauliflower or vegetables onto multiple baking trays. This way each individual piece will roast better. On the other hand, if you don't want it roasted too much, you can also cram it together a little bit more. This way the moisture from all of your veggies will basically protect them from being roasted too much. Once satisfied, put it all into the oven at 200 degrees Celsius or 392 degrees Fahrenheit top and bottom heat. In the next step, put your pine nuts into a pan if you haven't already, and then turn on the heat so we can start roasting them. And while our pan for roasting the pine nuts is heating up, we can start preparing our pesto. For this, put the dried tomatoes, the garlic cloves and the Parmesan into a large measuring cup. Then also add a good swig of olive oil. And in addition to these ingredients, season everything with salt, pepper, parsley and ground chili. Once it's all in our measuring cup, we can just let it sit there for a while. We will now need to wait for our pine nuts to be roasted and our noodles to be boiling, because both pine nuts and some noodle water will end up in our pesto. The way you can see me preparing a pesto here can be a blueprint for any pesto you can imagine. So basically you need some kind of roasted nuts, like pine nuts, walnuts or hazelnuts, a good portion of shredded Parmesan. If you wanted to keep it vegan, you could also leave it out. The last base ingredients you should basically always add are olive oil, garlic cloves and some noodle water. And now the rest is up to you. If you want to create a very tomatoey pesto, simply add in more dried tomatoes and maybe some tomato paste. On the other hand, if you are going for green pesto, you would want to add lots and lots of fresh basil. And if you want to go for a very nutty pesto, well, simply add more roasted nuts. And when it comes to seasoning, your imagination is the only limit. Season your pesto however you like it. In the meantime, while talking about pesto, our pan has finally heated up. The pine nuts will now be roasted in no time. However, to make sure we don't burn them, we basically have to stir them constantly. And when it comes to roasting, roast them to the degree you like it. I like mine a little more thoroughly roasted, that's why I keep them in the pan for a bit longer. If you prefer a lighter roast, then simply take them out earlier. Once you are satisfied, simply add the roasted pine nuts or nuts to the rest of the pesto ingredients. Since our cauliflower is already baking for a bit, we can now turn on the convection in our oven. But make sure to lower the temperature to 180 degrees Celsius or 356 degrees Fahrenheit. And with the convection now turned on, the cauliflower will be roasted in no time. In the meantime, make sure the noodle water is ready and set for boiling the noodles. And you can also already make some space on your countertop. You can put away your spices because you probably won't need those again. After some time of roasting, in my case about 5 to 6 minutes, I would recommend you to stir and turn your cauliflower. This way each individual piece of cauliflower will be evenly roasted all around. And once you have done that, simply put the cauliflower back into your oven. And since we are nearing the end rapidly, we can now start boiling our noodles. Boil them al dente. For this, simply take a look at the packaging, it will tell you how long you have to boil them. In my case, that's 9 to 11 minutes. Once the noodles are in your pot, stir them once or twice and then put a lid back on. And in the meantime, while we are waiting for our noodles to be done, we can already add capers and olives into our large bowl. And if they are preserved in liquid, make sure to drain it off before. And if you prefer your olives to be cut into smaller pieces, you can of course go for that. And now the pesto magic will happen. For this you should have half a lemon and some noodle water ready. Then first squeeze the lemon juice to the other ingredients in your measuring cup. And after that is done, we can start blending all of the ingredients into a smooth pesto. Make sure to add a good swig of noodle water to the ingredients. This makes the whole blending process way easier. But make sure to not add too much liquid to your pesto. Otherwise you will end up with a sauce. And now that I'm thinking about it, is a pesto not simply a very creamy sauce? Questions over questions. Let me know down below in the comments what you think. Anyway, once everything's blended thoroughly, take a large spoon and stir the pesto into a smooth mass. Mine ended up way browner than I expected, which means it will be more of a nut pesto than a tomato pesto. Though as I've said earlier, if you want to go for a more tomatoey pesto, you could still add tomato paste at this stage. Here I will stick to the original recipe in my recipe book. And we're getting ever closer to the end. The noodles are cooked by now, which means it is time to drain away the noodle water. And we don't need to catch any more of it since we have already created our pesto. After the noodle water is drained off, simply add all of the noodles into the large bowl. And now only one ingredient is still missing, our roasted cauliflower. So let's take it out of the oven and have a look at it. What do you think? Doesn't it look gorgeous? Juicy and yet roasted golden brown. Perfect. To finalize this dish, simply add cauliflower, pesto and lemon peel into the large bowl and mix thoroughly. Once this last step is done, the dish can be served. Here you can choose to serve your dish with some additional shaved Parmesan, and if you want to make it even more catchy for the eye, maybe add some fresh basil leaves. But that's all I have to say about this dish. I hope you enjoyed this video and I hope you learned something, whether it be roasting your own oven vegetables or preparing your homemade pesto. Tell me down below in the comments how you liked this dish, and if you have cooked it yourself, tell me how it tasted. This was one of the very first vegetarian recipes I added into my recipe book, which by now was almost 10 years ago. Nevertheless, I very much like to come back to this dish because it is so simple and yet so tasty. And it also teaches you how easy it can be to prepare certain things at home instead of buying them at the supermarket. With that said, I thank you very much for watching and I see you in the next video. I'm Knobi, goodbye.